Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're going to unpack the hidden, almost invisible mechanics of Google reviews, specifically for your dental practice. If you're a practice owner or a manager running a clinic in Australia or New Zealand, we're going to show you exactly how to turn your silent, happy patients into a consistent, powerful source of trust. A source that finally actually reflects the clinical excellence you're providing every single day.
So let's just dive right into this incredibly frustrating reality. You know the feeling. You provide excellent clinical care, your clinic is absolutely pristine, your team is super welcoming, and yet, prospective patients are quietly skipping your practice on Google in less than 15 seconds. And the crazy part, they're doing this without reading a single word of your reviews. Why does this happen? Well, it all comes down to an invisible online mechanism that we really need to uncover.
Today, we're going to break this down into 5 key areas: the dental rating cliff, the silent 99% of your patients, how to win over first visit patients, the Ask Everyone system, and finally, a private feedback safety net. Let's get into it.
Starting with Section 1, the dental rating cliff, and how prospective patients shortlist on Google.
Now you might be wondering, is 4.6 stars good enough? Because a lot of practice owners and managers just assume a 4.6 rating is perfectly fine. I mean, it's above 4.5, right? It sounds like an A grade. But here's the thing. Choosing a dentist is a high-trust, high-anxiety decision. Patients aren't just picking a local cafe for a quick coffee. They are choosing someone to literally put a drill near their face. Because of that underlying anxiety, they use Google ratings as a really aggressive filter. The conversion curve here? It is definitely not a gentle slope.
Just look at where these conversion cliffs actually sit. At 4.5 stars, you hit what we call the floor. If you drop below this, you are essentially removed from consideration entirely, especially in competitive metros. You're just invisible. Then, at 4.7 stars, you hit the step. Okay, you're on the list, but you're kind of the backup option, the hedge. But when you cross that 4.8 to 4.9 threshold, you hit the jump. At 4.9, you essentially double the rate at which searchers will choose you over a 4.6 practice. They spend longer on your profile, they read your reviews, and most importantly, they book.
Moving on to Section 2, the silent 99%. Because this begs the question, right? If you're providing 4.9-star quality care inside the clinic, why on earth is your Google profile stuck at a 4.6?
Well, here is the brutal data reality. It's an asymmetry problem. 99% of your happy patients just leave quietly. They're absolutely delighted with their new crown, the pain is gone, but honestly, they forget to review you by the time they reach their car in the parking lot. They have zero motivation to post. Meanwhile, that 1%, the patient who maybe felt rushed or got a bit confused by their bill, they suddenly possess this superhuman motivation. They will absolutely find the time to post a public review, often before they've even driven away.
And the financial impact of this asymmetry is absolutely massive. Data actually shows that one visible negative review quietly deters around 20 prospective patients. So let's do the math. If the average Australian or New Zealand dental patient lifetime value is around $3,500, and that's factoring in consults, hygiene, restorations, the whole shebang, a single bad review silently costs your practice roughly $70,000. 70 grand. And it happens completely quietly before your phone ever even rings.
Which brings us to Section 3, winning first visit patients, the highest leverage cohort you're probably ignoring. To fix this visibility and revenue problem, we have to rethink our approach. We need to stop pleading with our 10-year regulars to leave a review and focus entirely on first visit patients.
To see why, just notice the stark difference in the language used here. An established patient writes in quick shorthand, "Good, clean, thanks." Nice? Sure. Persuasive? Not really. But a new patient's review is entirely different. It's written from this high emotional peak of anxiety turning into profound relief. They write things like, "I hadn't been in years and was dreading it. They were gentle, explained everything, and didn't make me feel bad." That speaks directly to the exact fears of the very next person who is nervously searching for a dentist on Google right now. By treating that first visit as its own distinct funnel, you capture some incredibly rich, specific storytelling. Think about it, they literally just went through the exact shortlist process your next patient is doing right this second. They describe the booking, the friendly front desk, the total lack of judgment in the chair. By capturing this while their impression is still hot, you build the two things Google actually cares about: review volume and recency. This creates permanent social proof that just keeps converting strangers long after that patient has gone home. Okay, Section 4, the Ask Everyone system.
So how do we successfully capture these amazing first visit reviews without turning your lovely front desk team into a bunch of pushy salespeople?
Well, the secret is timing. The ideal sequence requires really precise timing. First, the visit itself does the persuading, right? A calm, unhurried, positive experience. Then, you absolutely must allow a short settle of a couple of days. This part is critical. You want the relief to fully crystallize into a feeling of, man, I am so glad I found this practice. But you also want to catch them before the details start to fade. Only then do you send a highly personalized ask.
And this is exactly where your choice of technology really matters. Your standard, generic review software, it usually just blasts everyone a fixed 7 days later with some generic template that looks like it came from a corporate bot. But tailored tech, like the X18 review engine, for example, is built specifically for dentistry to solve this exact problem. It automates this timeline using cohort-aware timing. It actually knows that a routine clean needs a very different delay than a complex restoration, and the message goes out appearing as if it came directly from the principal dentist or the practice manager. And that familiarity, that's what actually earns a response.
This brings us to our final part, Section 5, the private feedback path. Now, the natural fear of implementing an Ask Everyone system is obvious, right? What if you accidentally invite a really nervous new patient who happened to have a rough experience to go and post a public 1-star review?
This is where the private feedback path steps in as your ultimate service recovery tool. And crucially, it acts as a fully compliant alternative to review gating. You are asking everyone, but you use intent filtering. First, the patient gives an initial piece of microfeedback. If they signal 3 stars or lower, the system doesn't push them to Google. Instead, it safely routes that feedback privately, straight into the hands of your practice manager.
And here is how this translates into real-world results. Handled well, your practice manager gets that private notification and simply makes a phone call. It's a chance to just listen. This allows you to fix the problem, hear the patient out, and often you can turn a shaky start into a loyal, lifelong regular. The data actually shows that this specific private routing flow reduces public negative reviews by up to 94%. So you're fiercely protecting your online reputation while genuinely improving patient care at the same time.
Once you get this engine running, the downstream benefits are huge. You finally clear that rating cliff and lock in a 4.8 or 4.9 rating. You maintain a warm recency signal, which the Google algorithm absolutely loves, pushing you right up into the top 3 local pack. But beyond just booking more chairs, there's a really surprising hidden benefit: hiring. Dentists, hygienists, front desk staff, they all Google you before they apply for a job. A pristine, high-volume review profile will drastically improve your inbound applications from top-tier clinical talent.
I really love this quote from Lior Marovitz. He says, "A new patient who converts and never reviews is a trust signal that fired once and then vanished." Remember, every single new patient you delight is an incredible opportunity to lower the acquisition cost of the very next one. And you do that simply by capturing their story while it's still fresh.
So, I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. By shifting your mindset away from that awkward front desk begging and instead automating this timing-based funnel, your online presence can finally, actually match your clinical reality. The systems like the X18 review engine exist, and the math is crystal clear. So ask yourself, is your current Google rating an accurate reflection of the stellar care you provide, or is it just a reflection of the silent 99%? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and hey, here's to getting the recognition your practice truly deserves.